Hello and welcome to the Weight Loss for Women Over 50 Masterclass Series. I'm here today with Jessica Kishba. Hey Jess, how are you?
Uh, how are you? So nice to be here.
So lovely to have you here. So Jessica is certified as a holistic nutritionist, nutrition psychology counselor, and emotional eating coach. She is the CEO of Loyo Wellness and the founder of the Loyo Method coaching program. She works with women to heal and nourish their relationship with food and body through the power of food psychology and habit change. So Jessica specializes in nutrition psychology, emotional eating, binge eating, stress reduction, and mindfulness. So, with an intuitive eating and self care approach, Jessica counsels clients to let go of dieting and emotional eating so they can create happier, wholesome, balanced lives and to empower them with confidence to live a life of health, body, positivity, and freedom. So, she is here to talk about emotional eating. So, welcome, Jessica Kishbog. Did I say that right, Jess?
Fish paw, yep.
I did. Yes, I got it. So happy to have you here. So I love telling or having you tell the story of how you got to work in emotional eating. So can you share your story with us first?
I sure can. It's a long one, but I'll give you the abridged version. I am a lifelong chronic dieter. I was someone who struggled with emotional eating and disordered thinking and body dysmorphia for upwards of, gosh, as long as I can remember, at least through high school and beyond. And I never really realized that connection for such a long time. And jumped from diet to diet to diet, kind of just never
Mhm.
ever content within my own body, and struggled with excess weight and really tried all these different things to find that perfect perfect body that doesn't exist, right? I also in my former career practiced law for upwards of 10, 11 years, and towards that tail end became quite burned out and stressed and had different emotions, to which I constantly was turning to food to soothe that stress for me, again thinking that was kind of a normal thing to do. And in my transition of personal, physical, and professional sort of transformation, working on myself, working on emotions, finally like letting go of a lot of emotions that didn't serve me, understanding this connection between emotions and food, focusing on what healthy lifestyle really looks like without diet and then not a diet and then on a wagon and then off a wagon, and really like what does that actually look like in your life, so that I could just fill my cup and really have a wholesome life, because my life was just it was I wasn't living my life to the fullest, and it was really affecting things. It was affecting my job. It was affecting my sleep. It was affecting my relationships, right? All of this thinking around food and body image. Um, and so sort of as I made changes personally, I also realized, wow, I'm burnt out. I don't like what I'm doing in my life, and ended up going back to school for nutrition, becoming a holistic nutritionist and integrative health coach. And then I just really, I think I loved working with women in their behaviors, in their mindset around food. And so my specialization first became emotional eating, and then I went again back to become certified as a nutrition psychology counselor, so that I can really focus on the whole approach, the mind body, food
Mhm.
psychology approach to mind body eating behaviors, whether it's dieting behaviors, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's emotional eating, binge eating, overeating, mindless eating, whether it's nutrition, right? We don't, we still do a lot of work in nutrition, but it's the whole picture to
Mhm.
um, really a wholesome, holistic, full body life. And we look at all of it, right?
Mhm.
Not just one little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, because there's so many irons in the fire. Like there's all these little things. We think it's just one, but it really isn't just one.
Yeah.
But when we think about the nutritional piece, Jess, what is the toxic nutritional beliefs that women seem to think?
Yeah. So I love this conversation. I think so it's funny. We think of toxins, right? Toxins are these really bad things, these destructive chemicals, or that's what you think of as like something that's toxic with the crossbones and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, for the majority of people who have unwanted eating challenges, whether that's chronic dieting, someone who's been on and off diets forever, or emotional eating, binge eating, overeating behaviors, the healing and the transformation and really the freedom from food can really come from identifying and letting go of toxic nutritional beliefs. Okay, so what's a toxic nutritional belief? It's an incorrect or outdated assumption about diet or nutrition. So there are beliefs that we have about food, about body, about life that are actually just as potent as toxins, as something that is toxic, and it can be very toxic to our mind and body. And we need to identify them, we need to remove them, we need to address that. And even if we had the best exercise and the best food and the best medicine, right, if we don't address what some of those toxic nutritional beliefs are, we will continue to say overeat or binge eat or continue down the dieting roller coaster ride, because those toxic nutritional beliefs are running their lives, and it causes stress. It can overpower your metabolism. It can affect your physiology. It can affect your behaviors, your choices, and really disempower you. So there's a couple of common ones that I'll talk about, which is really telling. And one is that fat makes me fat. Like, fat is bad. Why is it bad? Because it makes me fat. So fat is bad, right? This is a very outdated nutritional belief. It's been around for decades and decades and decades, just proven tons of times. Yes, poor quality fat, nutritionally damaging for sure. Synthetic fats, hydrogenated oils, things that are stripped of their essential fatty acids can contribute to weight gain. Absolutely. But dietary fat, the good, necessary fats, they're called EFAs. They're called essential fatty acids. Essential. They are absolutely essential for our physiology, our hormone production. They are the building blocks of our cells. A lack of essential fatty acids from food can create weight loss resistance, can lead to weight gain, can lead to fatigue, can lead to binge eating and emotional eating behaviors, can lead to so many things that, and among other symptoms, right? Now, this is not an all exhaustive list. And so people think, oh my God, fat makes me fat. Fat's bad. So I have to do fat-free this and non-fat this and fat-free and all of these things. And similar to this is food makes me fat. Food is the enemy. Okay, so maybe fat is the enemy, but let's broaden it a little bit. Food is the enemy. Why is food the enemy? Because food makes me fat. So what do? We restrict. We find a diet that's restrictive. Why do we feel like this? Why is this a belief that's so toxic? Well, food makes me fat, and if I'm fat, the world doesn't like fat people. Or if I'm fat, I won't be respected as much. There's so much weight hate in this world. So people think, hey, like, you're lazy, or, no one will love me, or I'm deserving, or I'm not confident, or I'm unsuccessful. So a lot of it makes sense as to why we feel these ways. And then we act on those beliefs. We restrict, we diet. Food is bad. Food is the enemy. It makes me fat. And so, people don't even know, or maybe won't even admit that that's the belief that they have, but we're walking around. If only I could limit my food because, food is bad. If only I could limit my appetite. Oh, appetite becomes the enemy. There's another one, right? Appetite's the enemy. God, if we didn't have an appetite, we'd be dead. An appetite is your survival mechanism. Like, you need to have food to live, right? So, food is not the enemy. Okay. Food is your friend. Food makes you live. Food nourishes you. Food builds your body. Yes, there are certain foods that are unhealthy, that in certain amounts can cause weight gain, but food is not the enemy. And appetite is your friend, right? Like, appetite is what keeps you living. So if we're walking around thinking like food is bad, fat is bad, appetite is the enemy, your brain actually perceives a stress response. It's the brain's job. It's a very smart thing. It's like, oh my God, stress. And we've talked about stress, I'm sure, before, but what happens in a stress response? Everything. Like, we go into fight or flight. Our digestive system shuts down, and we're in this fight or flight, and insulin gets released, and your appetite is deregulated, and your insulin gets jacked up. You're storing more fat, and then maybe you choose to emotionally eat because of the stress. And so day in, day out, you're constantly in this stress response just because of the beliefs around food or fat, right? You're constantly signaling your body stress response, go store more fat, go store more weight, go store more fat, not build muscle. And that's the opposite of what you want when you're trying so hard to limit your fat and to limit your food, and you're just getting the opposite result.
Yeah.
There's others too, but I'll just sort of press pause for a second.
Well, when you're talking about fat, women over 50 right now, we are the ones that went through that era of fat was bad, low fat, no fat. And it was really them trying to cover up all the sugar from, like the soda industry and all of that. So we went through that era. So these viewers are the ones that grew up with that. I did. I'm 56.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a similar one is calories, less food, more exercise is the key. I mean, this is a formulaic nightmare. It's a scientific, formula that doesn't actually take into consideration so many things. Yet that's the one that's been around for so long, and that's the one that gets in people's heads. So everyone looks at the calories. 100 calories of spinach does not equal 100 calories of jelly beans, my friends. Like, it's quality of food. I have clients day in, day out who don't believe me until they're really in the process, and they're still perhaps counting their calories, even though we really work on not doing that. But I've had clients who are like, I'm still going to count my calories. And I said, okay, they're eating, they were so used to eating under 1,200 calories, and they're eating upwards of 1,800, 2,000. These are women, calories, and they're losing the weight and keeping it off, and they're feeling much better in their bodies and their clothes. They're having more energy, and they're getting the weight off. Whereas before, they're just so tired and hangry and hungry and restrictive, and it's hard, and they're punishing themselves. 98% of people on a diet who do something restrictive cannot sustain that, and they gain back their weight and then some. And it's why taking a much more holistic approach to what does sustainability in weight loss actually look like, right? And getting rid of these toxic nutritional beliefs. It's not about perfect. Ooh, there's another one. Diet must be perfect. Right? The diet must be perfect. Why does the diet need to be perfect? Because then I'll have the perfect body. Then I'll have the perfect health. Everything has to be perfect. So there's only one and illusory way to eat. It has to be perfect. And that's just doesn't exist. We take a mantra called imperfect action. Everything is imperfect in order to build momentum and, see progress. Otherwise, if you're always striving for perfection, then what? Your life is limited. You're filled with frustration. You're filled with inevitable failure because you're never going to meet that perfectionism that doesn't exist. And it leads to unhappiness. It leads to self-abuse. It leads to just, spiraling, or we're just not happy because we're just waiting for happiness to appear, right? Like, I'll be happy when I lose the weight, right? I'll be happy when I reach this perfect time. We're never going to do that, which means you're never going to be happy. So why can't we be happy now? Why can't we be happy now in our transformation if we want to shapeshift our body and work on our mindset and work on our nutrition and work on the things that we need to work on but be happy while doing that.
You, I was gonna say that, and it came out of your mouth. I'm like, they want to lose the weight, but then they're not happy because they thought that weight loss was gonna create their happiness. But there's a lot of other things that go with it, and then you mentioned the restriction. We grew up with that. My mom even had those books where you'd open up the book and look up and see how many calories something was, right? And that 1,200 calories gets a bad rap because everybody is like 1,200 calories. And I'm like, no, it's not, that's,
It's such an arbitrary, illusory, I don't know, it's just outdated at this point. And I
yeah.
just want to scream from the rooftops, like, let's look
Mhm.
at this a different way. There's a whole body perspective, a whole mind body perspective that needs to be addressed. And it's hard when you've been ingrained with a concept of like calories in, calories out, or like eat less, exercise more. Like you've been ingrained with these concepts of calories or fat is bad and all these toxic nutritional beliefs over time. And I understand that it's hard to break out of that,
Mhm.
but it
Yeah.
is bringing it down. And it is why people have struggled for so long, because they're constantly in rinse and repeat cycle, and they end up on yo-yos, and
Mhm.
they're back where they started, and they're back where they
Yep.
started. And it's just hard.
The vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel the impact of dieting is on emotional eating?
Sure. So a lot of those toxic nutritional beliefs absolutely can, lead to emotional eating, binge eating behaviors. Dieting teaches you not, teaches people how not to eat. Okay.
I like
So
that. Hmm.
it's restricting, but it's not just affecting you physiologically, it affects our mind. It affects your body. It affects you deep down inside. So it's asking you, hey, undereat. It trains us to see food as the enemy, that toxic nutritional belief. It trains you to say, food is bad, food is bad, food is the enemy. So it says, hey, we need to suppress our natural appetite. Don't listen to your body, listen to the calorie counter. Don't listen to your hunger or fullness, listen to how many points you have. Don't listen to yourself. Don't be intuitive about what your body needs as a unique individual who has unique needs and unique hormones and unique lifestyles and unique health challenges. You're a unique human, but don't listen to any of that. Just listen to how many points your little, app tells you to do. And emotionally and behaviorally, it can cause you to punish yourself if you can't be perfect on the diet. And what does this have to do with emotional eating? Your body takes notice, and physiologically, it kind of goes into a starvation kind of condition. You might not feel starving. You may feel hungry. You may feel hangry, but your body is going into, again, that stress response where it's like screaming at you, hungry, and you're driven to eat physiologically. It's sort of a hardwiring. Our brain is just like, hey, we're in low nutrition. We're in nutritional stress response. We're not getting adequate macronutrients like essential fats or essential proteins or enough calories. So your brain is like, hey, we're in peril. Increase appetite. We're driven to eat. So we're physiologically human, and we're going to react. And it's a kind of combination between physical and emotional, because in our mind we feel like we're like unstoppable. It's like ravenous sensation. Oh my god, I need to eat. And then in situations where there are emotions, it just makes it impossible. So when you have stress, when you have anxiety, when you have grief, sadness, loneliness, boredom, even, it becomes so much easier. It's so easy to then turn to food to relieve the stress. And the stress is often coming from trying to lose weight. So it's this like ironic cycle where we're constantly in this low level stress response, but then we're turning to food to like alleviate the stress. So it's cyclical. And I think it's really important to understand both the physiological, what I also call the hormonal response, right? We're talking about hunger hormones and fullness hormones and blood sugar hormones and stress hormones that are all affecting how we feel physiologically. That affects our hunger, that affects our fullness, that affects our body's fat storage capabilities. These are all very interrelated, which is why those things need to be addressed. That's not addressed by a diet. That's not addressed by counting your calories and restricting your calories. So we need to address those things. We need to get in touch with hunger, fullness, stress, blood sugar levels. How do we do that? By addressing nutrition, by addressing lifestyle choices and the stress response that we're constantly having. But like I said, those toxic nutritional beliefs, they're constantly emitting a stress response, which then jacks up your insulin levels, which then causes you to store more fat. Again, it's like these things are so related to one another.
Yeah.
So we got to stop the dieting. We got to stop seeing food as the enemy. We got to stop trying to suppress the appetite that we need to live. We need to stop, focusing on the scale and weighing yourself every day. We need to stop hating on our body. We need to start loving our body. We need to start loving ourselves and be grateful to ourselves and make friends with food and actually be kind now and find that joy, find that happiness now so that you can make the changes that you want to make from a place of compassion. Stop bullying yourself. You're bullying yourself. If you're on a diet, we're bullying ourselves, punishing ourselves into losing weight. Wouldn't we rather live our lives loving on ourselves?
Yeah.
Treat your body as if it were just a special loved one, a child. Treat your body like that. Speak kindly to yourself about yourself. Think about how different your life could be if that were, if that were how we lived our lives without dieting, without toxicity in our brains.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I love you talking about this, because you're all about love yourself, right? Compassionate. And that's why you even named your company Low Yo Wellness, right? Love yourself. So, and it just, you talked about those vicious circles, right? And as long as that insulin is up, you're always in fat storing mode. Your cortisol, that stress level is up. You're gonna keep gaining the weight, storing the extra fat. So yeah, it's such a vicious cycle. So I love that. What's the inner rebel? What is that?
Oh, yeah. So it's and oh my goodness, there's so much we can say. So we have a lot of, everyone has sort of different personality types, sure. And we have a lot of different things that can contribute to why we behave in certain ways. And so our inner rebel, right? It's an archetype. It's an inner personality that it's sort of how we think about ourselves. And the inner rebel is the one that likes to go against the rules, right? So it's the voice of us who's okay, I'm going to refuse the restrictions. I'm going to do whatever I want, and I'm going to break the rules. So if you're a rule follower, if you're following the rules, you're following a diet, the inner rebel is the part of you that takes over and is self-sabotage, right? Eat all the cookies. It's the voice that just breaks down your well-intentioned rules. And we're stuck, right? It's despite your best intentions of being on this perfect diet because food is bad and food is the enemy, I'm going to, have my inner rebel kind of, it builds up in us and it goes against what you're trying to do. So it goes against your nutritional intentions and it self-sabotages your efforts and totally breaks down your rules, your food rules. And then it can contribute to unwanted emotional eating challenges as well. Because you're I know what I want to eat. I know what I'm supposed to do. I just don't do it. It's that inner rebel that's stepping in and kind of makes the choices that go against what your intentions are, because you're just probably sick and tired of weight loss dieting, or you're sick and tired of the negative self-talk. You just want to have a little bit of fun. And sometimes rebellion behavior is a little bit of fun. or you're just tired of these impossible to follow diet rules, or you're tired of being so hard on yourself when it comes to your own food rules, or you're just like, I just want to say no. Like, I just want to say no to the doctors who are telling me to lose weight, or to the experts,
Yeah.
you just want to say no to yourself. So, when your food rules, when your diet is just too extreme, unreasonable, difficult, it's like the roots need to be challenged. And inner rebel is often the one who stands up and is like, hey, not going to happen anymore, buddy. Right. That's when we listen. That's when we pay attention. There's nothing wrong with that behavior. Emotional eating, we turn to food to regulate unwanted emotions. We turn to food to often soothe or comfort unwanted emotions. And it might, feelings that we don't enjoy. It might be boredom, anxiety, stress, anger, low mood, disappointment, hurt. And this is something we learn in a very young age. You feel bad, you eat food, you feel better. It's very like normal, physiologically, psychologically. But the inner rebel is like, okay, we're fed up, we're stressed out, we're trying to follow these rules. So we're going to use food to help manage those emotions and kind of be self-destructive in that respect. So again, it's a little bit ironic when it comes to where that's coming from, and then like why it happens, because, your inner rebel knows, hey, I know that like using food is gonna manage my uncomfortable emotions. So I'm gonna break the rules, and I'm gonna feel better by doing this. We're not consciously doing this, by the way. This is all sort of subconscious behavior. So we need to tap into that and work on some of those things around our rules against food, our toxic nutritional beliefs, our perfectionism levels. Do I set myself up, our expectations for myself and others around food, or around, just general expectations? What's the middle ground in my diet? What's the middle ground in my nutrition? Right? What are the self-judgments I have? What are the self-attacking thoughts around food that I have? How do you stand up to the inner rebel? So those are some of the things, like strategies almost, of how we, I know a lot of people probably like, oh, well, how do you do that? Right. It's the knowledge of it's happening, and then how we address some of those mindset changes.
And you're so right. We learn so many things when we're young, right? And it's unlearning some of those behaviors as we get older. Even now, I'm 56, I'm still like unlearning some of those things, you know? And someone giving a child candy to make them feel better, or I'd see that all the time when I was teaching. I was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
So thank
And
you so much. But go ahead.
and just one more thing, like it's never too late to make changes in our lives.
Right.
I think that's
Right.
something that, many people think as they get older, oh, like I can't change now, it's been too long. Like, no, habit changes can absolutely happen no matter how old we are, no matter what stage of life we are in. We can always shift mindset. We can always make changes. We can always create new positive habits in our life. And I think that's really important to recognize. If we are stuck, if we have been stuck for a long, 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 long time, we are probably just rinse and repeating the same behaviors and the same way of thinking over and over, that just looks like a different, brand or a different name of whatever diet that is, but it's the same behavior. It's the same mindset. And so if we look about it a different way, there's always ways to change habits. There's always ways to change behaviors. And it really doesn't matter, what stage of life we're at.
I love that. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom with us today, Jess.
You're
It's
so
been
welcome.
wonderful. So I know that you have a free emotional eating toolkit for the viewers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. This is a good way to kind of get started on deciphering physiological cravings, physical cravings from emotional cravings, and some suggestions between, okay, why am I, having certain physical cravings? And then why am I having certain emotional needs? And what can I do in these emotional situations to start the process of being aware of the emotion and recognizing and being intentional and conscious and making a decision as to what to do next and how to actually, attend to that emotion, as opposed, and sort of navigate that with a little bit more calm and ease, as opposed to stuffing our emotions with the next, bowl of ice cream or cookie in sight.
Oh, wonderful. So I know you already shared actionable steps and advice, but do you have any other last piece of advice or actionable step you want to leave the viewers with?
Sure. Actionable step, take action, take imperfect action, right? Do something imperfect today that will, do something different and imperfect today that you did not do yesterday, that is one step closer to where you want to be, right? Take a risk and step outside your comfort zone to take some sort of action. And it can be a baby step. You dip your little finger into, or your baby toe into that little imperfect area of fear and unknown and uncomfortableness. But do, right? Learning is great. Taking action is better.
Yeah, if you don't take one little step, you never begin, right?
Correct.
So perfect. So, and for those of you tuning in, check out Jessica's free emotional eating toolkit. The link is below the video, along with her website, her social medias. Reclaim control over food, navigate your emotional cravings with ease, achieve the food freedom you deserve. So make sure you click that link below the video. And also, she has the bonus. It's a let go of a dieting mindset 5-day mini course. The bonus is for VIP action takers, all access pass holders. Can you tell us a little bit about the mini course?
Yeah. So similar to this concept of, toxic nutritional beliefs and our dieting mindset, it takes you through step by step. So we go imperfectly. I don't give you everything all at once. It's 5 days of resources and tools that you can use over the course of 5 days. And you can pick any 5 days. There's no set days. You really can just jump in and do this. Where you're learning and then taking action on one mindset tool per day, and understanding this dieting mindset and why it's so toxic, and also how to then slowly make changes and do little tweaks to, your mindset and behaviors that feel doable without drastic changes, that feel really doable. Understand those changes and make shifts to that dieting mindset, that calorie counting, 1,200 calories, calories are bad, food is bad, like all of those toxic nutritional beliefs that we're talking about, how to make changes to those one little baby step at a time.
Love that. So that is the bonus that Jessica has put in for the VIP all access pass holders, valued at $200. It's a let go of a dieting mindset 5-day mini course. And then don't forget to check out her free emotional emotional eating toolkit, if I can say it, down below the video here. Just click on that. And be sure to tune back in for the rest of our Weight Loss for Women Over 50 Masterclass series. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Jessica Kishbach. So nice to have you here.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Cherie.